All right, this news just in late on a Sunday night that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to match the 3-year, $23 million offer sheet from the Utah Jazz, and Paul Reed will be returning to the Sixers here in NBA free agency. This is 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there had a fantastic weekend. Got away after really the peak level on the NBA calendar for us here at Chat Sports. Free agency, the draft, had to get away, took a little vacation down in Austin, Texas, but got back home, started working on this because the 76ers had until 11:59 p.m. to match that offer sheet, knowing that the news is going to break at some point, and that's why we're bringing you a video, and that's why you subscribe to the show. Year-round coverage of the Sixers right here on the channel, and when breaking news happens, I have you covered here. So let's talk about Paul Reed coming back to Philadelphia, and I'm going to list reasons for why I like it, why it makes sense. Also, Joel Embiid in an interview with Rachel Nichols just moments ago just said that he wants James Harden to return to the Sixers. We're going to hit on that as well. So the tweet from Woj on Saturday was this, that the Philadelphia 76ers and their restricted free agent, Paul Reed, signed a 3-year, $23 million offer sheet with the Utah Jazz. Then on Sunday, Woj tweets that the 76ers, matching Paul Reed's 3-year, $23 million offer sheet with the Jazz, per sheet's terms, Sixers must guarantee the last 2 years of Reed's deal if they win in the opening round of the playoffs this season. And as I said, the Sixers did have until 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night to match and retain Reed. If not, he was going to go to the Utah Jazz. One term of the offer sheet did include a pretty unique twist here, and I'll explain why I didn't think Reed was going to return to the Sixers in free agency here in just a moment, but here is that term. The first season of the contract fully guaranteed, while the following 2 seasons become guaranteed if Reed's team advances to the conference semifinals in 2023-2024, as I said. And given where the 2 franchises stand, it was more likely the Sixers would have to guarantee the $15.7 million total for 2024-2025 and 2025-2026 seasons than the Utah Jazz. So if you're excited that BBall Paul is back, just hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Of course, share your thoughts down in the comment section. And what I just alluded to, I wasn't sure if Reed was going to return, and I was really annoyed because 3 years, $23 million, a lot more for BBall Paul than I thought he was going to get out on the open market, but the Jazz are a smart organization, and Danny Ainge is a really good basketball executive. And if they valued Reed like this, then that goes to show you that some teams believe that he has some potential, and I'm excited about the pretty affordable contract he's going to return on because I think he's going to have a larger role this year, and with that role, he's going to play pretty well because in a limited sample size with Doc Rivers, he wasn't really able to see the floor all that much, but when he was on the floor, I did think he was impactful, and the analytics certainly backed that up as well. So I tweeted this out on Saturday, give me a follow, at Chase_Senior, that Josh Harris bought the Sixers, he's the owner, then the New Jersey Devils, then the Washington Commanders. Now, with the 29-year-old Joel Embiid, who's coming off an MVP season, Harris with a net worth of $6.4 billion is afraid to go into the luxury tax, and the 76ers roster now worse from last year because of it. Now, they bring back Reed, and he certainly adds to this roster, but a Montrezl Harrell move didn't make a lot of sense, and I wanted the Sixers to be a little bit more active. They did sign Patrick Beverley. I like the Mo Bamba and Patrick Beverley signings, but I still think there was a little bit of this timid factor for the Sixers, or Joshua Harris being somewhat cheap, of not willing to dive into the luxury tax. I will give him credit now. In signing Paul Reed, they're going to go into the luxury tax bill, and that bill is pretty hefty. But this is a move I thought that the Sixers really needed to make, and let me explain why. I thought it was important to bring Paul Reed back. Paul Reed is a player that the Sixers as an organization identified, they've developed, and sometimes they've missed on these types of players, but recently we have seen these players that the Sixers have identified. Their scouting department has done a good job, But then they let them go because they don't see minutes with the Sixers, but they go somewhere else and end up playing well. Charles Bassey last year at the San Antonio Spurs. Isaiah Joe was going nuclear from three-point range with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Julian Champagnie, a UDFA who the Sixers had last offseason, playing really well alongside Victor Wembanyama in the NBA Summer League. The Sixers let him go as well. So if they were going to let Paul Reed walk elsewhere just because they didn't want to pay him and go into that luxury tax bill, Sixers fans have the right and had the right to be very, very annoyed. I also think that Paul Reed is a player who can really develop under new head coach Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse has done a good job of developing bigs throughout his NBA coaching career. You know, he did it with Precious Achiuwa. He did it with Chris Boucher. We've seen players like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby really, really develop and turn into strong, solid players in this league. And I think that Nurse can bring that out of Paul Reed. And this is what I'm fascinated to see with BBall Paul here. His G League stats, 2 years combined, 24 games. I understand it's the G League, but give me a moment. 24 games, 22 points per game, nearly 8 rebounds per, 44% from 3 on 4 attempts per game. That last stat is very, very important here. Paul Reed at the G League level in 24 games shot 44% from 3, and that came on nearly 4 attempts per game. So can Paul Reed develop a 3 at the NBA level, and can he be a good 4 on this team who can also play the 5? Reed is long. He's athletic. I think he has some bounce. I like the energy and the swagger and the confidence that he brings to the floor. There's a reason why Philadelphia fans really like this cat. Because guys who play like this, Sixers fans gravitate to them. They're built for this city. Reed can rebound, block shots. He's actually a pretty good dasher on the two-man game, and I think he can be used valuably there. He also does a good job, very efficient in finishing around the rim with limited opportunities. On the defensive end, he can be an energetic rim protector, and I think there's a better player in there who's still only 24 years old, and this is a very good depth piece when the Sixers needed more depth on this roster. And again, if the Jazz wanted him, Danny Ainge, smart organization. And I was thinking about this, like conspiracy theory, right? And I'm always down to have fun with that type of stuff. But Danny Ainge, former Celtics executive, former Celtics player, won all those championships against the Sixers. Like, was he just doing this to get at the Sixers and make them pay Paul Reed? Maybe. But he's also in the Western Conference right now. So, like, does that make a lot of sense? I don't know. Go either way with it. Let me know what you think about that one. All right, let's round out with this. So, Joel Embiid, interview with Rachel Nichols. She's now working for Showtime, I believe. Man, what has happened to ESPN? It's insane. It's sad. That's another conversation. I like Rachel Nichols, but she does a good job. Interview with JoJo for Showtime from the NBA Summer League. Michael Rubin had another party. By the way, Shams Charania the other day tweeting out, like, Michael Rubin has another party plan with these guests. It's like, dude, how badly do you want to go to that party? I mean, shit, I wanted to go to the white party too. It looked awesome. And I did come away from that, looking at the video saying, how famous do I have to be to get an invite to that white party in the Hamptons at Michael Rubin's crib and be alongside every celebrity you can imagine? What do I have to accomplish in my career to get to that level? Kind of gives me motivation. But for Shams to tweet that out, I was cracking up about it. Anyway, we're rounding out the show with this. So Embiid saying, I want James Harden back. Here's the direct quote. He was asked about Harden's trade request. So he said, I'm disappointed. We're going to be boys forever. I want him back so that we can go out and accomplish what we want, which is to win a championship. So hopefully his mindset can be changed. Embiid did say, and I guess Harden deserves some credit for this, that he gives him credit for how he's dealt with this entire process, probably referring to Daryl Morey keeping him in his camp in the dark, which I guess Harden took issue with, considering their long-standing relationship. So I guess Harden isn't causing too many problems, which is good. Embiid did say, I give him credit for how he's handled the situation. He also did say, look, I understand too. It's a business. So disappointed that he wanted out and asked for a trade, but also complimented him at the same time. He said, we'll be boys forever. And I wanted to bring this up because if Joel Embiid at 29 years old is coming off an MVP, who hasn't had a lot of support from this organization, whether it be coach, supporting cast, he has also failed in big moments. They haven't made it past the second round his entire tenure, haven't done that since 2001. You have a small window here with a big who's been injured a lot throughout his career. His value will never be as high as it is right now. He's probably at the peak of where he can get to as a player. He can maybe get a little bit better if the game slows down, doesn't turn it over, doesn't get injured so much. Some of the issues we see in the playoffs, consistency, right? If he's saying that he wants James Harden back, I think you have to bring James Harden back. You have to consult with Joel Embiid to see how you can make him happy. And if he wants Harden back and that makes him happy and he truly feels that they can win a championship together, then you have to appease your superstar, because if not, you're looking at a situation in which maybe next offseason, if the Sixers fail to make it past the second round again, or even worse, have an ugly loss in the first round of the playoffs, I won't be surprised if Joel Embiid asks out and demands a trade. Now, he's been always been loyal to Philadelphia here, and I give him credit for that because his loyalty to this organization as the face of the process, who's helped turn this team around because they've won a lot of games, and he won an MVP for this organization, and he's provided us fans with so many great moments. But, for Embiid to say, I want Harden back, I think you have to appease him. You have to keep him happy, because if he does deserve that trade, which is what I was getting to, he could get frustrated if they get ousted once again. We've seen Damian Lillard forget about that loyalty because he realizes time is finite, right? He needs to win a championship. That's the one thing missing from his mantle. Bradley Beal, like Damian Lillard, was always loyal to Washington like Dame was to Portland. And it got to a point where he had to work with the Wizards on a trade because he realized the future was bleak and they continue to fail. So if Embiid, who's very competitive, continues to fail, and he sees that he could go somewhere else to maybe get that championship if he doesn't think it's realistic here, and he's unhappy with the lack of support that he's gotten, front office, ownership, coaching, roster, what have you, it wouldn't shock me if a year from now we're talking about Embiid also asking to be dealt. All right, wanted to get to some Sixers news here late on a Sunday. Appreciate everybody for watching here. If you made it to the end of the video, I want to know who's a real one. Type real one down in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. Year-round Sixers coverage. I'm Chase Sr. This is Sixers Now. Catch you tomorrow.